In this video, I'd like to talk about something that you might consider the complete guide to perinatal or postpartum obsessive compulsive disorder. You might hear both terms. Perinatal basically means from the point of pregnancy, postpartum means post-pregnancy. So we can potentially use them here interchangeably, but perinatal is what I usually talk about just because it is a more broad experience than just the postpartum experience. Now, this may shock you, but you don't have to be a birth parent to experience this. Adoptive parents, foster parents can have this as well. Even the person in the couple who didn't give birth to the child could have this too. I have treated dads and spouses who have this, who have such stressors around the birth of a child that OCD grabs on and talks to them about how many ways their child could be harmed and all of then the compulsions they do to try to prevent that harm from happening, and have seen that it can have a real impact on relationships, not only with the child, but with their spouse as well. Now, there can also be some hormonal things that come along with this. We know that having a baby and even becoming pregnant changes hormones. And for people who are pregnant, those hormonal changes, well, OCD can be triggered by some of those hormonal changes as well. It is very important then to recognize the symptoms and signs of the perinatal OCD experience. And that could go from doing anything that you possibly can to, say, not be contaminated because you wouldn't want to ingest or touch anything that could be harmful to the fetus, all the way through after the baby is born. Anyone coming over has to wear gloves, gowns, PPE, masks, face shields, and this child must be protected from anyone and everyone so that there is no harm that could potentially come to them whatsoever. Almost the child in a bubble kind of concept. This doesn't actually help children develop very well because one of the things that's really good about our species is we develop immunity to things as things get into us, as germs and microbes and bacterias and viruses happen. We get them, we survive them, and we develop immunities to things. Trying to protect everybody from everything, well, guess what happens? You don't have the opportunity to develop all that immunity. But OCD doesn't care about that. OCD says, oh, no, no, no. Protect them at all costs. Everything that you do must be in order to protect the child from absolutely anything ever happening to them. And if they get a cold or a runny nose or anything like that, it's your fault. What a terrible, awful parent you are. OCD loves guilt. It's one of the things that it uses to motivate people to do compulsions. And so OCD will bring about tons of guilt in people and say, oh, other parents, they seem to be doing this. You don't seem to be doing as good as other parents are. Well, wouldn't that be terrible? I don't want to be a terrible parent. I don't want to be a bad parent. I want to be better than all the other parents. So I'm going to do all the things that OCD tells me because it sounds very knowledgeable. It must be right. It must be true. Why would it tell me to do these things if they weren't the things to do? But keep this in mind. The only reason OCD is telling you to do these things is because, well, OCD is a liar and it has one ulterior motive. And that ulterior motive is for you to do a compulsion. You may have read some books on parenting. I don't know any book that says developing obsessive compulsive disorder and doing compulsions is the best way to raise a child. If it was, we would have written that book by now. It would be $1 million seller if that was the case. But it's not. It's quite the opposite, actually. OCD only pulls you away from others. OCD only leads you to have more doubts and insecurities. OCD doesn't lead you to look at your child and think, wow, how cool. That's awesome. It's more of, oh my gosh, what terrible thing could happen? What can I do to prevent that? Oh, what a terrible parent I am. Just not the way to go about things. My goal, I want you to have hope as a parent. I want you to be excited about having a child. I want you to recognize that though a stressor, and again, OCD loves a stressor, but though a stressor, it can be a great thing, but it doesn't always feel that way. That's why, first of all, if you've had a child and you're experiencing this, I want you to know there's people out there who understand. I get it that having a child doesn't always feel happy. It doesn't always feel wonderful. In fact, when I go up to parents of newborns, I don't go, wow, isn't it amazing? Isn't it awesome? How lucky you are. I go up to them and I ask, how are you? How are you doing? How are you managing this? How are you surviving this? How are you functioning? And they look at me like, wait, what? You're asking about me, not the baby? Well, though the baby is important, no doubt about it. The fact that the baby is helpless and being raised by people who are taking care of it, those people are amazingly important too in this experience. And if we don't check in on them, how are they going to be the best for the child? So I want to make sure that parents are doing well, that they're feeling okay about things. And I want to acknowledge that if they're not, that is okay. It doesn't always have to feel great, doesn't always have to feel wonderful. And if you're one of those parents right now, even if that was 30 years ago who experienced that, I want you to know I hear you, I get it, I understand. There is help out there for this. Right? Please do not suffer alone. Even if you had a child decades ago and you still have guilt over the fact of some of the thoughts or the images or urges, those obsessions that you had, don't continue to beat yourself up over those things. Don't continue to suffer. Help is available. You know, I hope anyone having a child in whatever way it is, be it fostering, adoption, birth, however it happens, I hope that you have a wonderful experience. I hope that you have no regrets about your choice. But we know that there are people out there who think, why did we do this? Why? I didn't know I would feel this way. This message is for you. Help's available. Check us out at NOCD.com. We have therapists available who can do evidence-based care and get you to a point where you will be able to look at the world in a different way. OCD won't be in the driver's seat. I I can make no guarantee that everything will feel unicorn farts and rainbows and all those kinds of things, right? But it doesn't have to be full of doubt and shame and insecurities. So, nocd.com. Find a therapist trained to help you and start living that parenting life that you want to live and not the one that OCD is driving. I wish you the best.